Well, automotive enthusiast friends, no matter where you are on the great blue marble spinning around in the firmament, you have clicked the button once again on yet another...
Kevin, another sesquicentennial episode of V8 Radio.
Ha ha! How did I know that was coming?
Man, it's almost like we talked about this.
It's almost like we did 149 episodes before this one.
That too. Look at us.
Well, you have tuned into the latest 150th episode of the V8 Radio podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Ostie, joined as always by our esteemed co-host, Mr. Mike Cuball Clark, and our very special guest, Miss Kelly Ostie.
Good evening, gentlemen. How is everyone this evening?
Oh, just awesome. How are you?
Wonderful.
Oh, I love it. You know, since we're on our 150th episode, I think that qualifies us for syndication at this point, doesn't it?
Oh, I thought we already were.
Yeah, we kind of already are. Through multiple podcast syndicators.
Well, there we go.
But at the same time, although Kelly wished everybody a good evening, if you're listening to this in the morning, good morning.
Oh.
A good morrow to you, sir.
That's right. Time shifting. Mm-hmm. So for all of you who've listened to all 149 previous episodes of this fine quasi-automotive podcast, you know what happens next. That's right. It's the always anticipated automotive trivia questions, in which we ask them of each other here in the beginning of the show, and then, of course, hold out to the very end to reveal the answers. And because we are gracious and friendly hosts, we will allow our guest to go first. What do you got, Kelly?
Okay. I asked Mike before we started how much we trust Wikipedia. So that's my precursor is that I hope this information is correct. Okay. What is the name of and the year started of the first retail chain parts store?
Ooh.
Automotive parts store.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's a killer question.
That is. And I'm going to stand by the fact that no matter what I say, it's right and Wikipedia is wrong, if that's where it came from.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, Mr. Q, this says you written all over it, so why don't you go to
All right. I'll tell you what. I'm going to... there are so many parts stores. Am I allowed to ask for one hint?
I don't know. It was I believe it was nationwide. There were 1,200 stores across the United States.
So you're saying were? That's leading me to believe they're no longer in business?
It has been bought and sold numerous times. So in a way, it is still open today.
Okay. I'm just going to throw it out there and say Pep Boys.
Ooh.
Okay.
Ooh.
And
there's a lot of those out there.
The year started.
That it started.
I'm going to say 1923.
Ah, man.
Did I read your
What's
mind?
the matter, Roasty?
Those are exactly my two answers.
Come on.
So now I have to come up with something else.
Yep.
All right. Let's see. The question again, the oldest or the longest standing automotive parts store?
Nope.
The first started?
The first.
First retail chain of auto
First
parts
retail.
stores.
All right. Okay, well, Manny, Mo, and Jack, we're kind of going to be my first guess. Okay. Of course, the three Pep Boys. But going to shift gears a little bit. I'm also wondering, did this start off as an auto parts store, or was it like horse tack, and then the horseless carriages came along and they decided to pivot in the marketplace?
Due to market demands.
It does not
okay.
suggest
I'll get
anything but automotive parts from the history that I'm reading.
Okay, well, I don't know the answer to this, is what I was going to say. But I remember seeing a lot of like Pep Boys ads from the 50s. I also remember seeing, what do you call it? Like Western Auto ads from the 40s, I think I've seen. Along with, there was one of those like Pinterest sites with vintage gas pumps and gas stations and auto parts stores.
Right.
So you took my answer of Manny, Mo, and Jack. I'm going to go with the only other one that I can think of as Western Auto. And what year?
What year?
27.
Okay.
All right. Got
We'll
that
find
down.
out
I
at the
said
end of
Pep
the
Boys
show.
1923. Kev says Western Auto 1927. All
All
right.
right. What do you got, Mike?
Okay. In what year
Oh, boy.
was the very first automotive insurance policy purchased?
And it was purchased
and-
at the very first auto parts store, by the way.
And as a bonus, who was it?
Well,
Can you repeat the
Miss
question?
Kelly,
Auto insurance. What?
In what year was the very first automotive insurance policy purchased?
Oh, policy.
Yep.
Oh. Do you think
you're the
anybody
insurance
was
person in our world.
scared of? I hate insurance. Don't even. But you can listen to the upcoming HRAA seminar on May 9th about insurance if you're a shop owner and what all you need to know.
I can't wait.
Yes. Brought to you by our
HRIA and SEMA.
the Hot Rod Industry Alliance Select Committee member, Ms. Kelly Osteen. So that was a good way to waffle for a moment. Do you have a guess?
Yep.
I mean, we weren't really that Sue happy, right? Until, I don't know, 50s or something. I'm going to say 1904. 1940. Yeah.
Okay. Want to take a stab as as who the person was that bought it?
Was it somebody who bought it or the company who sold it?
The person who bought it.
No, I
Person
heard
who bought
that
the
question
policy.
differently. All right.
No guess? No? Okay.
I
no
don't.
worries.
I don't know any people that would do that. I mean, who would? It had to be. I'm going to say a collector, but I don't know who.
Okay. Fair enough. Mr. Kevin.
Okay. I'm going to say I have no idea on this one as well, but my gut feeling on this is that it is earlier than we think because the insurance people tend to jump on things that they seem to be able to, write policies against early on. So I'm going to say it was like 1911. And as far as who purchased it,
Yeah.
my guess there is that this was a PR thing. This was a big deal. Somebody big and famous bought the first policy. So I don't know. Maybe it was, I don't want to say it's Henry Ford, but somebody maybe like that. Maybe somebody like a Rockefeller or somebody like a big fancy pants. So, because I think back then the automakers didn't really want you to think that automobiles were dangerous. So I'm going to say it's not an automaker that bought it, which leads me to a businessman or somebody who is invested in the insurance company, perhaps. I smell a little conflict of interest already. I wasn't to guess that the company was maybe the Travelers Insurance,
Well, that
if
would
they
make
were around
sense.
back then. But who bought it in 1911? Do I have to name a name or can I say a politician?
It is a name.
Ah,
I need a
crummy.
name, sir.
I know. All right. It was Warren G. Harding.
Ooh. I love it. That's a great answer.
Such
Well, he's-
entertainment.
Demonstrating his concern for safety and responsibility with this new pioneering technology of the automobile, setting an example for his people.
That's awesome. That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. I love
That
it. I
sucked.
love it. Keep dancing, baby. Keep dancing.
Oh, yeah. Dance is over. All right. Glad that's over with. Now, I have one for both y'alls. We'll go to Kelly first.
Yep.
Hey, what
Hey,
is a Dodge Texan? You can feel free to answer on this episode.
what? Well, it's a car made by Dodge. What else do you
Wow.
need to know?
Probably a little bit more than that.
What else do you need to know?
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, she's kind of got you. I mean,
Well, she thinks she
I mean,
does.
if you really
anyway.
think about it, she's kind of got you.
She thinks she does. You never know. Maybe it was a parakeet.
I'm pretty sure it's a car. Maybe.
Well, give me something unique about what a Dodge
Oh.
Texan could have been.
Oh,
Those who need
okay.
prodding here.
Okay. Well, I've never heard of one, so I'm gonna say it's rare. It's probably got a V8 in it because that's what we do. So I'm going with that. I'm gonna say, is it a 4-door? And I don't know. Is it some kind of a Dodge like racy car from the beginning? I don't know.
Okay. So it was a rare V8 powered 4-door racy car
Made by Dodge,
made by Dodge. Is it the final answer?
and it had a V8.
Yes, I had that
right?
part. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what else
All right.
Mike has to pick from because that's covering it all.
I mean, you
think.
gave it all. You gave all the answers. I
Okay.
have nothing left here.
I know. What else?
That's
you
how
got,
I felt
Mike?
after the auto parts store question.
Yeah, right. I'm empty here. I'm empty.
I got nothing.
That's right.
All right. So, what is a Dodge Texan?
I already answered this question, Mike.
Yeah, that's not how
Kevin,
you
the
play the
Dodge
game.
Texan was a limited edition truck built for the Texas state marketplace
Ooh.
that Dodge put out. And they did this in 1970.
1970.
Oh, Texas was
All right.
booming in the 70s, I think.
That's right.
As you,
That's what
uh,
I'm saying.
As you recall from your vivid memory, these specific details about the Dodge Texan, do you remember anything else interesting about it that we
My
can?
goodness. Like, we didn't
bolster
answer
your,
the question here, Mike.
It was
Did it have
a
horns on
luxury
it?
truck.
Luxury truck.
Yeah.
All right.
And it only came in black.
Ooh.
Oh.
You know why? Because that's the color of oil.
That's right, man.
Okay. Awesome.
Final answer.
There you go. All right. Well, we will reveal the answer to these riveting trivia questions at the end of the
boy.
show if you're
Oh,
still awake
brother.
or you haven't left. So thank you
If
for
haven't
hanging with
tuned
us.
out already.
Jeez.
All right. Well, now back to the 150th episode festivities here on the V8 Radio Podcast. Yes.
Yay,
insert
congratulations,
the crowd
guys.
sound effects here.
How about it?
Do you remember how this whole thing got started?
Yeah, I got a text message from one Kevin Ostie. Hey, do you want to co-host V8 Radio? And I said, well, what do I got to do? He said, you
Before I say
just got to
yes.
talk.
It's such a dramatic story. I'm in tears already.
Yeah, right. I said, okay, let's do it.
Hey, you want to do this? Yeah, okay. All right, there we are.
Sure thing. And that's how it all started.
Done.
Dunzo.
Back in the day.
Well, do you remember the actual date? Because we keep
Well, the
saying it was
first-
like 7 years ago.
The first episode we did, it was in May. It was in May 7 years ago.
May of
I
7
forget the
years
exact
ago.
date. But
Awesome. So we're like right on 7 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
You know what that means? We are one of the longest continuously produced automotive podcasts anywhere on the planet.
Ooh, look at us.
Yeah,
Ooh,
for sure.
doggy. Way to go, guys.
Yeah, doggy.
Most
That's
people
pretty
get
cool.
bored and hang it up after, 10 or 15, 5 or 10. They say, this is it. I'm done. But because of Mr. Cue Ball's fortitude, here we are today.
I'm just too dumb to quit.
Yeah, just keep showing up.
Just keep
one of the
showing
keys
up.
to be
Well, I guess we'll do
successful.
this again.
Just keep showing up. Yeah, right on.
That's right.
Well, I remember the story similar to that, but a little bit different. As I grew up, I was fortunate enough to have an 8.9 watt radio station in my high school, my FM radio station. WMTH 90.5 FM and 8.9 watts serving the Chicago suburbs reached like 150,000 people or 200,000 people.
Wow.
Not like anybody listened.
But it was there.
It was there and it was fun. And I thought, if
Yeah.
I can do radio for a living, I'm in. And that didn't work out. I did get jobs at a couple different radio stations and did news and sports and DJing and overnights and, afternoon drive and evening and all that stuff. But you really gotta pay some dues in the radio business to get anywhere. And
For sure.
It kind of handed my can to me before I was finished paying my dues. So I always thought it would be fun to do something again in radio. And guess what? Podcasting is kind of the same thing without all the hassle.
It's true.
So
That's true.
that was my motivation to give this a whirl. Technology was just starting to allow this to happen. And a little behind the curtain peek, when we started doing this, Mike would record his audio at his house, which was 320 miles away from me, and I would record my side of the conversation at my shop, and then he would send me the audio file, and we would mate the two together so that they were both recorded technically locally, and it sounded like we were in the same room, but we weren't.
That really blew a lot of people's minds when I told them, no, he's over 300 miles away, man. Really?
Yeah.
You got to be kidding me. It sounds like you're in the same room.
Well, and today everyone's spoiled by technology to be able to do this kind of stuff a lot easier, and that's why you have 56.9 billion podcasts.
Yeah.
Fun trivia question, Kelly, why is it called a podcast?
Because of the iPod, the Apple
Bingo.
iPod.
Bingo. Nice.
Winner,
Very
winner,
good.
chicken dinner.
That's it.
Woohoo.
Yeah.
That could possibly be 2 correct answers tonight.
Ah,
That could be one anyway.
Right.
don't lead me on like that, boys.
Well, the first time I ever heard of an actual podcast was listening to Steve Dahl, the great talk radio host in Chicago. Believe it or not, in like 1996 is when he had talked about a podcast and broadcasting to personal players. And I thought, wow, that I don't really understand that, but it sounds fun. And here we
for
are
sure.
today. Yeah.
Here we are today,
Yeah.
sitting in a garage doing a podcast.
That's right. And the approach that we take is literally, it kind of morphed from phone calls that Mike and I would have, just BSing about cars and whatnot. And that's kind of what we recorded. And believe it or not, some people actually dig that. And the evidence was a very interesting visit I got today by a gentleman named Jim Laughlin. And Jim is what I will call our V8 Radio podcast superfan.
Really?
Jim has been listening. He tuned in during the pandemic, and he listens to a lot of podcasts, he told me. A lot of NASCAR stuff, a lot of other car stuff, but he looks forward to ours the most, is what he said. Because he said it feels like you're just hanging out in the garage and with some car guys.
That's kind of how we fashioned this thing, to be like a garage companion.
And that's kind of exactly what is happening, because you're in your garage and I'm in mine.
Exactly. Right.
Kelly's got the luxury of being in the living room of the house.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
I'm comfy.
Mr. Laughlin said that he often talks back to the podcast.
Really?
He'll join in the conversations, on his own, or shout that I'm a knucklehead because I didn't get the trivia question right.
Well, he probably yells at me, "No, that's not right. Your question is not right.
Yeah, right.
Answer's
Yeah.
wrong."
So he lives in Nebraska and was in the St. Louis area for a business meeting and came down to the shop. And
Did he really?
He did today. So gave him the big tour and introduced him to the people and the people that he's heard. It's kind of strange because he knows all of our stories because he listens. So I'm
Right.
like, yeah, and this is Brian. He's like, oh, yeah, Parts Guy Brian. I was like, yes. And I said, this is where Trevor, our lead technician, oh, yeah, Trevor gives Mike all the trivia questions. Yeah,
Right on.
that's the guy. And then
That's
I
killer.
pointed out to him that, yes, there is a Sarge in the warehouse section of the business. And so I said, let me give you the tour and walk around. And then I had to give him a little disclaimer and say, let's hope I'm not a liar on how I describe the V8 Speed and Resto shop on the on the podcast.
Oh, right.
Because now you're seeing it in person. And he really enjoyed his tour and said it was better in person than it was, in the ears. So that's a good thing.
Right on. Well, all right,
That's
Jim.
cool. Way
That's
to go, guys.
fantastic.
Yeah, super nice guy, Ford guy, working on a 65 fastback Mustang and a couple of cool old Ford pickup trucks, and building a cool shop for himself to work on this stuff. So it was neat. So thanks, Jim, for coming by. Very timely, because we're kind of doing a thank you to all the people who have hung with us. One episode or 150, it doesn't matter. We appreciate you listening.
Right on. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm bummed that I wasn't down there to be able to meet him in person, but
well,
that's
interestingly,
how it goes when you're remote.
We had talked about our random trip to Cleveland recently, and we were kind of loosely saying our next random weekend trip is going to be to Omaha, right?
Yeah.
And that's where Mr. Laughlin lives, just
All
outside
right.
of Omaha. So you'll get to meet him.
Let's book it.
There you go. He's like, "You're coming here? Why?" I said, "No reason, man."
Let's get a hold of Good Time Jimmy and get this thing rolling.
That's it. That's exactly right. Mr. Laughlin said we can go to the zoo, and I said, "You're on."
Oh boy.
Cool deal. All right.
It was
We're
cool.
taking you up on that, Jim.
There you go. So, weather's getting nicer. Have you had the GTO out?
I have not. I still have to replace the starter, and I haven't done that yet. I haven't gotten one yet, but I will.
What do you
soon
mean you
enough.
haven't gotten one yet, Mike? You're supposed to know how to order parts.
Well, I do know how to order them.
Is this a little foreshadowing here?
It sounds like it.
Well.
In that case, the big news on the 150th episode is that we're finally making Mr. Mike Q-Ball Clark a full-on, full-time, legit team member on the V8 Speed and Resto shop staff. So
They finally put a ring
Yeah.
on it. They finally put a ring on it.
we made an honest man out of you.
Oh,
Welcome
man.
aboard.
I feel like the luckiest little girl at the ball.
Yay!
There you go.
Welcome to the team, Mike.
Thank you. I am beyond excited to be able to join this team. It's something I never thought would ever happen. That I would be able to get into the automotive industry after 28 years of. I've worked in the print industry and the managed service provider industry for 28 years, and I thought that was, that's where I'd retire. And I've always been a car guy, and since doing this podcast and being afforded the ability to go to things like the SEMA show and the PRI show and do our show from different events, it really made me fall in love with the automotive industry that much more. And to be able to do what I love for a living is a real dream come true for me. So I can't thank both of you enough for that opportunity.
Well,
We're honored to have you on our team. I'm excited.
that's 100% true. And I
I'm
know
elated.
listeners might have a couple of questions right now because what you didn't work with those guys before? Well, you've been a part of the team since like day one,
Right.
Right.
But you, as you said, this has been the world's longest job interview.
It really has been.
I remember when you came to the first open house at the Redbud shop. I think that
Yeah.
was the first time I met you. And I was like, who the heck is this guy that drives all the way from Chicago for a used car parts yard sale, basically? I was like, how serious
Because
is
it's
this
cool
dude?
car parts.
I
Yeah.
know you were really serious about it then, and I was like, well, we got to figure out how to work with this guy, but it took a little while.
Well, he was the
Yeah,
original V8 TV super fan, and
Yeah.
Yes.
watched V8 TV on you were a satellite or a cable subscriber at that time.
Yeah. And I'd see the videos on the YouTubes as well and all that good stuff.
Yeah,
So,
and we met in person for the first time at the Muscle Car and Corvette Nationals.
Yeah, we sure did. Yeah,
And-
I think
and
I
that's-
had my father-in-law with me at that time. as
Right.
well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So to answer one of the questions that the listeners are having, Mike has been just an enthusiast volunteer, doing this podcast, and this has been kind of a labor of love. You'll notice we don't have 5.5 minutes of credit card commercials in the beginning of every episode and all that stuff. This is really just doing it because we like to. And, as we became better friends and worked together on projects and everything else, I had always thought it'd be really cool to have you join the staff somehow, in some capacity. But I know that you live far away and that your wife's got family there and you got family there, and a move was probably not realistic.
Right.
But Kelly was the one who came up with the idea of saying, hey, you know what? This dude could work remote.
That was an eye-opener. So this whole thing has been kind of in the works since PRI.
PRI, yep.
Yeah, when Kelly said, just point blank, mincing no words, Mike, when are you coming down to Redbud and come work with us? And I said, I can't move. My family's here. My wife's never going to move. My kids are, they have the roots here. She says, well, what if you didn't have to move? What if you worked from home? And then the bell went off over my head. Whoa.
Mine too,
this
by
could
the
be
way.
something.
Yeah.
And-
well, because that conversation was not like pre-rehersed.
It wasn't
know
planned at all.
I didn't know that was coming either. And
Yeah.
I didn't
you
either.
and I, Mike and I were walking down the aisles of the PRI show because we were recording interviews, and all of a sudden we just kind of, the lanes merged with Kelly, and we're walking, and when she's like, you were like 10 steps ahead of us, and I think you just kind of turned around and you're like, hey, Mike, you want to work for us?
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, we're both like, oh man, really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
how my
I said
brain
something. Now I
works.
got to make it happen. Holy cats.
Well, I mean, like Kevin said, we had thought about how could we get you involved in this shop for a really long time. And I just this week have been accused of being what was the word, Kevin? It wasn't spontaneous. Impulsive with my decisions. And I said, well, that's because I don't tell anybody what I'm thinking about for a long time. So to you and Kevin, the idea of you working at the shop, I mean, we've all talked about it. Like, how cool would it be if
Right.
we could all work together? But that moment at PRI was like, bing, I just figured it out. And I was like, okay, this is how we're going to do this. Let's see what he says. So I was really
Wow.
excited. That day was, I mean, PRI was amazing for me and for our shop. And that just added to it. It was like the cherry on top.
For sure. When I got home that night, I had this half crazed look on my face, and my wife is like, "What is up with you?" I said, "You're never going to believe what just happened. I just might have had a career opportunity change to work with Kevin and Kelly." She's like, "Are you out of your mind? How's that going to work?" And I went into the whole thing. She says, "Holy cow, really?" I said, "Yeah, I think this is a real thing." And she says, "Well, I mean, you have to go for it. You have to do it." I
Oh,
mean,
nice.
and she says,
Thanks, Jenny.
Yeah.
like helping look up parts and stuff for a living. I mean, you do that for fun, you idiot. I'm like, I do that for fun.
Except
You're
for
right.
your own starter for some reason.
Except for my own starter for some reason. Yeah.
Well, so there's, a couple more details we got to fill out here. And one is that if, again, those who have listened know that, if Kelly says she's going to do something, it's going to happen. So that lended some credence to that seemingly off the cuff job offer at the PRI show, because a lot of times, if it was me and I'd be like, hey, dude, you want to work for us? You'd be like, yeah, sure, whatever. And it'd be done. But when Kelly's like, hey, you want to come to work for us? You're like, oh, yeah, this could happen.
Yeah.
So it was legit from the word go. And we appreciate Jenny not thinking that it was crazy either and being supportive of that, because that's really cool. But so the other question is, well, how does a guy work for a hot rod shop remotely? And that is what we had to kind of come to terms with. And as we build cars for customers, Brian, our parts guy, is a tremendous bird dog for getting parts, but he's got like too much on his plate, and
Right.
we're building, 20 some cars at a time. And then there's another, 10 or 20 waiting to come in that are already committed. And then beyond that, there are people that call up and say, hey, let's have a conversation about maybe doing this or that. So we've not been really great at servicing those what if customers, because we don't have the manpower to develop a proposal for them, right? So Brian spends a lot of time of his day as technicians, come to him and say, hey, right now to finish this project, to move to the next step, I discovered that we got 2 bad wheel cylinders that we didn't really know about. Can you get them? So he's doing this right now kind of stuff. And meanwhile, sales and customer service guy Joe is taking phone calls, and he'll say, Brian, I know you got 900 part orders you need to get ordered like right now, but this guy wants an LS3 with a Magnuson supercharger and a Detroit Speed front suspension, and can we come up with a parts list for him? And Brian's like,
Oh man!
So these present opportunities for you at this point to work with both of those guys to do in the beginning, I'm like, what are we going to have him do? And now I'm like, now almost like
the list is like 4 pages long of what we're going to have him do.
We're going to need another You Are Ready, I think.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and other people are like, oh, so Mike's going to start working for us. Can I ask him to do this and this for me? I'm like, yep, just add it to the list. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Well, and like your wife Jenny said, you like to look up parts for a living, and I think there's a lot of different areas of car enthusiasts, and there are those people who just love finding stuff and planning and putting packages together of all the things that you need and checking off all the boxes for a certain thing. And that to me really lends itself to somebody who can help develop a proposal or a plan for a full build on a car, and enjoy doing it. So, I see you doing a lot of that. I also see you going through our system of spreadsheets and documentation on the existing cars and maybe following up on things that, were ordered and where are they? And if it's not here, the industry well enough to say, well, I know supplier A doesn't have it. I'm going to ping supplier B and see which one can get it here and work that whole system. So there's a lot on the parts side. But then I also have some fun marketing side tasks that I think you'll enjoy doing. And as we came to the realization just the other day, beginning of the show, Kelly said, good evening. We'll be able to record podcasts during regular business hours.
That's right, man. I'm getting paid to do this garbage. Woo!
This is going to be part of your job, pal.
I am truly a professional podcaster now. How about that?
Industry guy, podcaster.
Industry guy. The seed was planted ever since Ira Gabriel, former VP of marketing of the SEMA show, says, yeah, you're an industry guy, right? And that's where it all began.
What you had is one of the ultimate long-term SEMA moments right there.
Yeah, how about it? How about it?
It was the inception, and here it comes to fruition. So that's super cool. There's just a lot, and we are expanding and growing and doing things that a lot of times, Kelly looks at things like, we should do this, let's explore doing this. This is something that the business needs or our customers or whatever. And I look at it from the opposite standpoint of, well, who or how are we going to do this? Who's going to do this? But as you and I have talked about recently, I went through some training. Kelly went through some training to help us think a little bit differently and expand the horizons a little bit more. And now it's like, hey, there's resources out there. Let's pull them together and just go do it responsibly, of course, not just willy-nilly. So along those lines, I've been able to become a co-host on a local AM radio show called This Week in Classic Cars that airs on KTRS, the Big 550 in the St. Louis market. That's it. And it's cool because working with Lisa, our marketing assistant, she tapped some of our suppliers to help sponsor that and cover some of the things that need to be covered. And next thing you know, we're now reaching a whole new audience with our nonsense, splitting that with another shop that does European car restoration, European sports cars. So it's kind of complementary. We don't really compete with each other,
Right.
but we share stories of this kind of stuff. And I never would have thought that was possible because it's like, well, who's got the time or, whatever. But instead by saying, well, we're going to make the time, let's just go do this.
Right on.
So that's cool. And you're going to be a guest on that show, by the way, too.
Ooh, cool.
Come down to visit. So that'll be fun.
Nice. Yeah, that's another nice little benefit is I'll get to come down a lot more often than I have been in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, at least once a month for meetings and possibly more depending on what's happening and or what's going on. So, I'm really looking forward to a lot of that too.
And attending events because you're going to have to be on top of the industry.
That's right, man. I'm an industry guy after all. I got to do it.
I'm sure Kelly might have some spillover from her duties as a SEMA person to help grow our industry, right?
Well, yeah, of course. There's all kinds of things we can send Mike to do.
That's
and the
right.
cool thing is the V8 North. We talked a little bit about now we have Mike up there. If there's an event in the Chicago area, he can represent the company, and that's really cool too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
This
So-
is super cool.
Yeah, it is. You and I talked, since that first conversation back at the PRI show about some of my concerns, and it's like, we're buddies first, and that can be tricky to become, on the same company level as
Right.
co-employees all of a sudden. But I think we're both smart enough to have those kind of conversations ahead of time and
Yes.
communicate well enough to say, hey, it's I got a question about this, and we'll get the answer. And I don't see any problem. So it's going to be
No,
fun.
I mean, it's all about mutual respect and understanding, there's work boundaries, there's friend boundaries, and, not invading someone's boundaries, so to speak, and just being respectful and being cool with one another. It's it's not rocket science. It's just, good sense.
So I got to start doing
So I'll
that.
tell you now, when I play in Podio in the middle of the night, don't answer it. Or when I send
Okay.
you a text message or like through, our computer programs or whatever, that does not mean to respond if it is nights and weekends.
Okay.
Yes. So now the episode takes a turn to how to work with Kelly.
Okay, here's
Whatever
where
you say, boss lady.
here's where all the other employees tune in and say, "What? How do we do this?
What? Yeah, because we've
What's
learned
the secret
that
sauce?"
Kelly's native personality type is known as dominant, if you couldn't tell, which means
No.
she speaks in short, to the point sentences and phrases like, "Hey, Mike, come to work for us." Done.
Right.
And-
And I say, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, right. Well, and then I'm the opposite. It would take me 45 minutes to ask you that same question because we'd have to tell stories about when we met.
Once upon a time.
What is a podcast and all that.
Yeah.
So, Mike, let's talk about what a job actually is, right?
Yeah.
It's when somebody does some labor in exchange for compensation. So in her world, though, everything, just her natural operating system is far more direct and to the point, and that can be kind of challenging to receive if you don't know that, because some of us on this planet, if somebody goes, "Hey, what happened here?" we immediately go, "Uh-oh, what did I do wrong?" But in Kelly's case, she just wants to know what happened. She's not saying you screwed this up or anything about that. It's just I need a status. What happened? And that there are people with that personality type, and they can be challenging. And what you have to do is understand that. Don't tell her a 45-minute story in return. Just say, "This happened." Okay, great.
Right.
We move on. Done.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the direct approach. I don't like having to guess what somebody wants or what they're trying to ask me. If you want to ask, if you need something from me, tell me what you need, and don't just don't say something passive aggressive or just something on the fringe of what you want, and hopefully then I'm going to zero in on what you really mean. And that way, when that doesn't happen, then we're both disappointed. And,
Right.
And that's not a good working relationship. So
Right.
I like the direct approach best.
Okay, well,
It's coming.
if it ever
You want it, baby? You got it.
if it's ever a concern, you just ask another question and I'll happily explain further.
I
Well,
love
and
it.
the other thing is, because Kelly and I are the business owners, and we spend a lot of our days working with things that come up throughout the day. Kelly's got an open door policy for any of our team members that have a concern or want to talk or a question or whatever. So what that means is that in her position, she's got, a full 8 or 10 hour day anyway. And when people come in, it can time shift her day a little bit later. So you'll oftentimes get an email or a message or something after hours, sometimes really late after hours, 3 or 4 in the morning, because she sat up in bed and went, oh my God, I got to ask Mike to do this. And and she's also the type of person where, act now. If I have this thought now, I got to send that email right now, or I'll forget it, which is
Right.
great. But there are people who automatically assign a sense of urgency to respond or to act the minute they receive that. And what she's trying to stress is that we believe in our business, your time's your time. We're
Right.
not here ever asking anybody to work late, work weekends, stay after, unless everybody agrees upon it and understands and is working for a common goal. But that is, it's not the norm. So your alerts can turn off after hours, and that's just fine. And when you come in tomorrow, you might wake up to a little stack of stuff to do. But that doesn't mean there's a problem. It just means
Yeah.
that
Right.
there's more stuff to do.
Yeah,
Dig it. This is going to be great.
it is going to be great. I'm excited.
Me too. Woo woo.
Yeah, we're all
Good
excited. The
stuff.
whole team's excited. Everybody's looking forward to it, and we've got some new people as well that are in the shop in person, and they don't know it yet, but they're excited too. So
I think they're excited to be new people in the shop. They're
Oh,
doing
yeah,
really
yeah,
well.
yeah,
it's
for sure.
exciting. Yeah.
yeah. There's
Yeah,
there's definitely
definitely.
a lot going on, and so I don't know. What else is Mike going to be working on? Do we talk about any other longer term projects, or do we save that for the 151st episode?
Well, I don't know. I asked you before the podcast what was the topic, and you're like, topics? Why do we have topics? I don't know.
That's something new for us going forward.
I know.
Into the
We
What's
typically
on
do
Mike's
150.
list?
What's on my list?
Yeah.
Whatever's on your list, then it's on my list.
Oh, no.
Well, Kelly's been working on a little project now for a few months, right?
Oh yeah, she has been.
I've been working on several projects. Which one are you speaking of?
Probably the biggest
the
one,
big
maybe?
project. The reason you were what you were doing at PRI.
Oh, we're going to talk about that? Okay.
I don't-
Or do we
are
hold
we
it-
allowed to
hold-
talk about it?
I,
Could hold
I
it
think
for
so.
151. I don't know.
No, it's
Big
fine.
great tease.
Okay, so, where do I start?
Okay, ma'am, a few words. Let's start with the backstory here.
Okay, so the
Set the stage.
backstory is
Theater of the mind.
we
Yeah.
frequently have customers that bring us cars that their engines have not ran in a really long time, or they want to switch to a different engine. Or we work on the car, we finally get it running and driving, and it makes weird noises. So we tell them, well, you got to replace it. And sometimes that results in a new crate motor, that results in an LS blank, right? Fuel injection and those kind of things. And sometimes it results in, well, I'm really attached to that engine and I really want to keep that engine and I want to fix that engine. And over time, we have used many shops. You guys have talked about that in the past that we've sent engines out to. And the world knows that there's a part shortage, which is going to be a challenge for Mike in his new position. And
boy.
the world knows that
I'm
there
already
is
getting a negative performance review.
time. No,
You have to solve that. You'll be
Right, you have to solve that. But we all know that there's time that it takes, to do all the work that we do. And our customers, as everybody's familiar with, is kind of like, no, I want to drive my hot rod now. So through a whole bunch of things that happened at the shop, I started really considering how can we provide a better service to our customers? How can we be an expansion to our shop? How can we learn new skills and hire more people? And I got to a point where I met just all the right people and learned enough to be dangerous. So I have decided and followed through with purchasing 2 engine machine shops from gentlemen who are retired and who did not have a succession plan. The ideas that they had for their businesses didn't work out. So they retired and they sold me their machine shops and their tooling, just all their tools, their equipment.
Right.
And I have moved that equipment into a building in Redbud, and we are working on, Kevin designed the floor plan for me, and we're working on moving the equipment around in the right order and getting electric connected to it currently. And soon, I don't know the date, but soon we will be running test engines and test parts through the machines, make sure that everything works well. And then we will open a new division of V8 Speed and Resto shop of the engine machining department.
Yay!
Yay!
So
Yeah.
exciting.
That is exciting.
It really is. And that now means there's like only 1 or 2 things that we do not do in-house.
Yet.
Because we do, we do all of our mechanical work. We do our fabrication. We do our body work, paint work, interior work, tuning, all that in-house, alignments, tire mounting, balancing. So letting things out of the shop has always been, kind of a lesser preferred way to do things. Now, granted, you can send an engine off to the guy who builds that type of engine and get the best, possible scenario. But again,
Right.
we then become a middleman, and the customer calls us saying, "How's my engine doing?" And then you got to reach out and try to get an answer and get kind of in the middle of things, which it means you can't speak genuinely about how the project's going, I think.
Right.
But by being able to handle the vast majority of engine machine work, block work, crankshaft work, rebuilding cylinder heads, boring, honing, decking, assembly, test running. We have an engine dyno. We'll be able to tune them on the stand. And then not only that, we'll have the ability to run the engine through the rest of our departments. So we're going to be an engine machine shop building specialty engines that also has a world-class paint department attached to it. So for a show car or a high-end hot rod or whatever, we can make that thing look the part of the rest of the car rather than it comes back from somebody else and it's been rattle canned, black,
Right.
and it doesn't meet the standard. So on a service standpoint, we're not opening this machine shop initially to repair cylinder heads on people's daily drivers and taking every machine job that comes along. We really are specializing in custom crafted engines that run the way they're supposed to, perform the way they're supposed to, pass all the leak checks and all the rest of it, but then also have that high level of detail. And I've talked to numerous other shop owners that we know all over the country who are kind of in the same boat. They're like, I got to build a 49 Cadillac engine for somebody and I don't know where to send it. I can't send it down the street to my local shop because they've never seen one before, or it's not going to come back the way we want it. So by having us do that kind of work, we get it. We already know what that customer wants. So we can handle it with care. And interestingly, what we've learned too over the years is that a lot of these businesses like ours are operated by the person that started it. So staying
Right.
on the machine shop thing, you have machinists that might be brilliant machinists, but they're also forced to answer the phone and do the billing and market
the
their shop,
parts.
order the parts, right, and do all the things, which takes them away from doing what they're really excellent at. And in our world, we've built an infrastructure of the office professional staff and the parts people like yourself and Joe in customer relations, so we can apply our treatment to an engine now, to where customer wants to know what's going on with it. We can send them a video right now. Here's where it is, what's happening with it. We can take them along for the initial startup and dyno sessions from afar if they live far away, and our machinists won't have to spend their time doing things that they're not experts at. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, they can do what they're meant to do. Just keep building. I love it. So the next time you get a Ford single overhead cam engine that you need to have built, say, sorry, John Kazi, but we got this one now.
I think we might always rely on the experts for certain things.
Right on.
Well, and that does get into, well, who's going to do the work, and it's still pretty early in the game for us, and just because of, out of respect for people's careers and whatnot.
People
we can't really,
not like Mike, who haven't given 2 weeks notice yet.
Yeah, we can't really say
Right.
too much about that, but there are very, very, very seasoned professional, not only engine builders, but racers and people who've done training that are going to be joining the team to help launch it and stay on, and also mentor and train some younger guys and gals. Actually, we have a female machinist.
We have a
that's joining.
3-generation plan currently.
Oh, killer.
Yeah.
So
That's ridiculous. I love it.
there are strategies in place. So this was not an impulse decision to launch a machine shop.
No, I know it.
It's been thought
No,
about
I
and
know
worked
that
on for
much.
quite a while. Yeah.
And when
Yeah,
we initially we talked about this with parts guy Brian, and he's looking at his load of cars that he's got to order parts for and proposals he's got to do, and he's like, and engines now. So again, here comes the opportunity for the Q to join the staff.
Right on.
Yeah.
Here we go.
You know all the
man.
parts of an engine, right, Mike?
I'm sorry, beg your pardon?
You know all the parts of an engine, right,
Yeah, a
Mike?
couple two tree,
Okay.
little
You got
here,
your
little there.
blocks, your blocks, your pistons, your heads.
Blocks, heads, cam
all
shifts,
the same.
three-quarter cams, full race cams.
That's it.
I know them all. I know
Okay.
them
Got
all.
the flat ones.
The flat tapeits.
That's right.
Got them fancy roller cams.
That's exactly right.
I'm not
So-
worried.
This kind of circles back to why you can tell us, Kelly, why you had such a great time at the PRI show in specific, because you were in the early phases of the machine shop plan.
Yeah, so I've gone to PRI in the past, and usually just kind of your sidekick, and walked around and talked to people that you knew, and parts companies that we work with, builders that we know, just kind of like a networking personal situation. And this year I went and I walked up and down the machinery row aisles, which I am going to be generous and say there's 6 rows. I think I walked those aisles for at least 2 days, full days, back and forth and talking to people and meeting people and asking questions. And, hey, I just learned about this, and now I've got this, and what about that, and how about this, and will this work with that, and can I do this, and da-da-da. And I can't tell you how appreciative I am, how grateful I am, how surprised I was that every single person I talked to was so helpful. And I mean, I went in and I openly said, I don't know anything I'm talking about. I don't know part numbers. I don't know what this machine does. I don't know how it works. This is what I've got in my mind. This is what I want to do. Tell me what this does. Tell me how this works. And I was with someone who was is going to hopefully be an intended employee, so we can't divulge all that. But I was
Right.
with someone who
Who knows?
Who knows all the things that the machines do. He knew so many people in Machinery Row that were working there, or we would just walk up and talk to some people. And he introduced me to people. He would explain, we need a surfacer and it does this and this, and or a borer. And I was like, okay, are we talking about line or hone or what? I was like, all of these questions, right?
Yeah.
Everybody was so patient with me. Everybody was extremely helpful. I met so many wonderful people from so many different companies that I'm still communicating with, from used equipment sellers to brand new equipment. I had pictures of equipment that I was intending to purchase, and I'm like, what is this? What does it do? Can I get parts for it? How does it work? Do you still sell it? So many things. It was just amazing. It was such a great experience. And I know there's so many women out there who are like, I don't know, women in the automotive industry, and they're going to treat me wrong. I did not experience it that once. I didn't get looked at like, what do you mean you don't know what the heck that does? Or you're saying the wrong word, or that's not how it works.
Where is your husband?
Yeah, no, I didn't get any of that. I did not. And
You don't know anything.
Sometimes I was with another gentleman, and sometimes it was completely by myself. And so it was a tremendous experience of learning and just tons of note taking, and it was just an amazing experience. It was really cool.
Yeah, I think that's excellent that went that way, and that's what we know. We know the professionals in the industry and the camaraderie, and you talk to somebody. In a pretty short amount of time, you can kind of gauge what their comfort level is with the subject material. And when you find somebody who's like, look, I this is important to me. We're going to be hiring people that are going to be relying on this, business, and we want good stuff and good advice. Can you help me out? And just be genuine with them. They respond tremendously, because at the end of the day, they might sell some equipment, they might make a connection through you too, and the whole thing. So, plus it's just, like-minded people are cool to hang out with. So I was
and
very
it wasn't
happy to hear that.
necessarily all about the equipment. It was about hiring employees, ordering the parts, companies to and to not work with, how to set up a machine. I was getting stuff. I was like, wait a minute, guys, I don't even have the thing in front of me. I need to write these numbers down. I don't even know what they mean yet. And so many of them were like, just call us if you have any questions, just ask, send me a message or whatever. And then I would walk around and all of a sudden this guy would come up to me and he would say, are you Kelly? And I'd say, yeah. And he'd be like, hey, I just talked to so-and-so and he told me you were opening a machine shop and here's some information and here's my card and I've got this for sale and I know this guy that has this, call me about this and whatever. I was like, okay. Like,
that's awesome.
Who are you? Yeah, it was really cool.
That's great.
So yeah, I'm very excited about it and really looking forward to learning how to use all these machines. I'm not going to be the machinist by any stretch, but I love to see how it's made and learn all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. I think it was also cool to chat with some of the parts suppliers, the piston manufacturers and the ring manufacturers and bearing people, and that we knew as casual friends before, but to hear that they were all like overwhelmingly positive to help support you and answer questions too.
Well, yeah, because that's the concern is these two gentlemen that I bought their machines from, they were like, well, I don't know if this industry is going to keep going. And so I would go to a piston builder or a camshaft builder. And I'd be like, all right, look, are you still working on 1940s, 50s, 60s, GM, Ford, Dodge motor parts? Or am I going to get all this machinery and tear open an engine and not be able to purchase something to fix it? And they were like, oh no, it's totally on the shelves. We're making them. It's, those American V8s are going to be around for a long time. And then when you think about the longevity of a business, like I do, then you think, well, if there's the electric car phase, if there's an economic downturn, if there is any instability in the automotive industry, how much of an advantage are we at by having the machines to fix what is on the road today and keep it running? Mm-hmm. So there's why I went into why I went into an engine machine shop, because if something happens and they do stop making them, everybody who has even a Corvette today, in those high performance engines of today, they're not going to keep making those engines, right? We've all heard all the V8s are going away, but everybody's going to want to keep driving them. I mean, Kevin and I just went to a big cruising event last Friday night, and that industry, that passion for our automotive lifestyle is not going away. It doesn't matter the price of gas. It doesn't matter if the engine or the car is being made anymore. It still brings people together in droves of people. So why not have the machines to be able to continue to fix them?
Hear, hear.
See? Yeah.
See, told you Kelly was right.
Well, I'm saying that to myself, by the way. Because,
Oh, okay, yeah. Finally, Kevin's on board.
No, I was on board, and I get it. And here's the way these things go. Kelly and I, we own the business. We work on opposite sides of the building, right? My office is over there. Hers is on the other side. And we address different aspects. And she's like operations and getting things done and the machine shop and whatnot. But it falls in my lap to populate it, to get the word out there that we have this service and
Right.
Portray it in a quality manner so that people come to us and get the work done. So initially she's like, yeah, I'm thinking about doing this machine shop. And I'm like, how the hell am I going to sell that? Right. Essentially, that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
But then when we started looking at the organic nature of this, and it's like, well, where's the demand lie? And the demand lies initially within our walls. We have cars that we need to build engines for, like right now, that other engine shops. And here's another thing. It's not like we're setting out to take business away from anybody else. I believe, and I know Kelly does too, that the more shops like this, the better. It's all going to increase the size and the footprint of the industry and the enthusiasm and the reach and the careers. More is better. But every engine machine shop owner that I've spoken with is like, oh, thank you. You can help us ease the load because I've got a 3-year backlog and I can't get them done. Right.
Right.
Oh,
and
brother.
They don't know where to send an engine to somebody who understands, a 1971 Oldsmobile or something from the 40s or 50s. So this is just helping relieve some of the tension in the industry of this bottleneck. And by the way, if there's a bottleneck, that means there's a lot of demand. So that's a good thing. And just today, when Mr. Jim Laughlin came to visit, our loyal V8 radio listener, he and I were chatting about this, and he said, yeah, my engine builder said my 289 Ford is 3 years out.
Holy cats.
Yeah, right. And it's like, wow. So by having more of these, hopefully we can help that throughput and help people get their projects finished, get back on the road, and enjoy their cars.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
That is exactly what it's all about.
And she was referring to the Cruise in Lindbergh event, which happened last weekend. And previous episode, we had Jason LeCavalier and Angela Sharp on talking about that. And I can't tell you how much fun that was. Kelly and I went.
The clips I've seen looked really cool.
We took the van. Everybody loved it. And it was just like, it was an alternate reality. There were thousands of people out. And I would say easily pushing 1,000 cars up and down the strip.
Wow.
And to what Kelly's whole point is, she was noticing that there are like 3 and 4 generations of people on the side of the road.
Oh yeah,
hanging
like
out.
great grandpa, his son, and then the like under 5-year-old, and they were all smiling. They were all laughing and talking and being together, and that is so important to just. Where else can you have family fun like that? Standing on the side of the road, watching people drive by. Yeah. It was crazy.
100%. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. At one point, she's like, well, to all those people who say that the interest is going away for this stuff, look around. They're wrong.
Yeah.
It's that simple. So that was really cool.
No doubt. I mean, even my little downtown Plainfield, where they have a cruise nights every Tuesday throughout the summer, that downtown is bloody packed from 4 p.m. till 9 o'clock when it's over, of nothing but cool cars, and the sidewalks are packed with people. The restaurants are full of people. I mean, there's people everywhere for these events all summer long. I mean, the interest has not waned one bit.
No.
Yeah. So all that is super promising, and that makes me excited to be able to share something that we can help people with, and be a little bit, even further involved in the industry, and with people who have a desire to work in this industry, like yourself, Mr. Cue Ball.
Amen, brother.
Woohoo! And provide a place to make it happen. So this has been just an over-the-top episode of big stuff, man.
Yeah, for sure. Huge news everywhere.
That's how we roll.
That's how it is. I'm loving this. I can't wait to get these late night texts.
Don't get excited about them.
You say that now.
Sometimes it's like, remember to order that part tomorrow.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And yes, and so the piece of advice there is the response is not, I know, I'm ordering it. She's just checking on you. Just wants to make sure.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
So it's all
Yep.
it's all pretty exciting. I don't know what we're going to talk about in episode 151 because 150 kind of blew us out of the water, but I'm just happy that it happened that way. Too cool.
Kevin, do you have some kind of van update, or Mike, you got some other update of any kind?
I don't have updates, but Kevin, you should talk about your van excursion up to Chicago and back, and how that happened. Maybe we'll tease
Might
that
make
for
him
151.
cry. Maybe that's 151. He needs more time to recover.
Let's just do this. Let's just say that the van's maiden road trip voyage, which is what that thing was designed for, managed to magically turn a 4-hour drive into a 21-hour experience.
Well, that just sounds
Experience?
fabulous.
That's amazing.
And a potential inability to return home.
Like
In many
over
ways-
and over and over again.
I genuinely felt, because I was, mostly crazed from lack of sleep and anger, but I genuinely felt that our buddy Grady and I were like the Apollo 13 astronauts, because
Failure
we kind
is
of
not an option.
failures, but we also kind of missed the moon, but then had to get home somehow.
Yeah, it was a successful failure.
It really was, and
Yeah.
you got to enjoy what we set out to do.
Yeah, right.
Because you went
I
to the
did.
event and we didn't get there till the very end.
Yeah.
And what does all this mean? Well, tune in next time and
Yeah.
hear the whole story.
Now you are quite the pro. I love the tease.
Yeah, well, it only took me a couple hundred episodes to figure this stuff out.
Right.
But the other thing I know is that our listeners are like all shaking with anticipation on our ultra riveting trivia questions.
Okay.
Even though I hope they all kind of forgot about them with all the other good news we had.
Well, I just hope that Wikipedia is not wrong. That's all I got.
I
boy.
guarantee it was. Yeah. All right. So then, saying that, Kelly, you go first. What was the question?
It was what? I mean, I'm not gonna. Okay, so that's a little window into my world, Mark, because the reason I send the 3:00 text message is because I forget, like, super. If it's like done, it's out of my head, and I move on to
Right.
the other big gigantic idea, like hiring you, right? Or opening a ninja machine shop. So I don't worry about all the exactly how I worded something. So I think my question was, what is the first automotive retail chain, automotive
Yes.
parts supplying retail chain? Yeah.
And
And what
when?
year
Year
did
it
it
started.
open?
Yeah.
Okay, so the answer.
Hold
I'm
on.
pretty
What did
sure
Mike
Kevin-
say?
Whoa. Let's recap these answers here.
Okay.
Yes.
So I said it was Pep Boys in 1923, and Kevin said it was Western Auto 1927. And the answer is
The answer is Western Auto.
You're kidding me.
come on. There's collusion. There was collusion.
Okay, so
I had no idea, man.
Okay, Western
I've seen
Auto
the old
was-
signs.
what year did Kevin say?
27.
1927. I swear to God, if he's right about that too, I quit. I'm quitting.
Oh, yeah, you can quit now, by the way.
Oh, right, yeah. Right. That's not a good idea. Okay, so it started in 1909 in Kansas City, Missouri, by
nice.
George
Wow.
Pepperdine. Yeah, and
Oh,
Don
George. Yeah.
Abnor Davis. Pepperdine later founded Pepperdine University.
Holy mackerel, really?
Yeah.
That's the
They
bonus
had,
question right there,
1,200
too.
stores. And the really cool part about this, because I did not know this at the time, the first retail store was open in 1921. They were a mail order initially, and then they went to the retail store in 1921. The really cool part that I thought was cool about this was that my mom worked at a Western Auto here in Waterloo.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was a bookkeeper.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, she was a bookkeeper, and she bought several of my dad's firearms from there as gifts, and they're still in the family. So, like, I didn't realize it when I searched it. I was just like, well, what's the first place, you know? And when that came up, I was like, wow, that's really cool. They were here in Waterloo, and my mom worked there, and that was neat.
That is neat. That's far neater than our
Auto.
questions, Mike.
I know.
Yeah, that is way neater than our questions.
I'm pretty
We
sure I had like
suck.
a bicycle from there. They sold different kinds of things. They sold bicycle and tires and auto parts and
Horse tack?
firearms. No, when you said that, I was like scrolling and I was like, did they do
Horse
anything
tack.
with animals? No.
Yeah, you know.
But they
Saddles
are-
and whatnot.
They are currently, through many buyouts, they are currently advanced auto parts.
Ah, interesting.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, I did not know that.
Okay, so hopefully Wikipedia is right.
All right. Well, that's cool. Mike,
Yeah.
you're up.
Right on. Okay, so I asked y'all,
Y'all.
in what year was the very first automotive insurance policy purchased? And for the bonus, who was it that purchased it? And Kelly said 1940, and had no guess on the person who bought it. And Kevin says, could be a PR thing, someone big and famous. I don't know, like a Henry Ford or Rockefeller or some fancy pants.
I guess I
But
did
he
say
guessed
that.
1911 as the year. And then finally settled on Warren G. Harding as the person.
I just held the microphone down below my legs and let it come out of my ass.
That was good. All right. The answer is the year was 1897
Ooh.
was the first automotive policy.
Wow.
And the gentleman who bought it was a gentleman named Gilbert J. Loomis, who is of
Who's
no
he?
fame whatsoever.
What about the
No.
safe company, right?
Well,
Isn't
it could be
Loomis a
part of
safe
it,
one?
but my research didn't take me there.
So you're telling me that this was just, we were supposed to name some guy who was just
Some
a guy?
dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. It was a bonus. It was the bonus.
That's a super bonus.
Come on.
Damn.
Who gave you that one?
No one gave me that one. I came up with that one on my own.
All right.
Well,
So sorry, Jim Laughlin and Trevor, but this one was all me.
I thought my made up story about all that stuff was pretty legit, but apparently not.
It was entertaining, is what it was.
All right. Well, my question to you alls was, what is a Dodge Texan? And Kelly said, it's a car.
Made by
Yay.
Dodge.
By Dodge.
Made by Dodge, right. And then she elaborated to say it was a rare V8 four-door racy car made by Dodge.
Yeah.
Mr. Cuball said it was a limited edition Dodge truck built for the Texas State Marketplace in 1970, and it was a luxury truck, and they were all in black. And I added that same color as Texas T.
Right.
However, unfortunately, both kind of missed the mark, but put together you were kind of close. So a Dodge Texan was a one-year-only car, a 1956 Dodge Coronet Texan. Only 289 regional models were built and sold to Texans only. And they sold them as being built for the highways, but at home on the range.
Oh, love it.
Powered by the 315 Super Red Ram V8 engine, so she got that right.
Racy
Dual exhaust,
car.
white wall tires, D500 suspension. So yeah, a little bit sporty, but they were two doors. And color-wise, they only had a few color combinations: sapphire white over oriental coral, and I think there was maybe one other color combination. So that is what a Dodge Texan is, a limited edition special Dodge for that market. So put both of your answers together, and you both got it right.
See that, Kelly? We work so well as a team already.
We're already a good team. This is
Boom,
awesome.
bam, pow. You can't be stopped. You can't be stopped, everybody.
Well, that's
Top
how
of
it
the
works,
world.
man. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Ooh. I love
wow.
So those of you dreaming about Dodge Texans now know.
Okay.
All right. Well, this has been such a big episode. I'm going to have to listen to it myself to hear all the stuff that happened because I'm a little overwhelmed.
it. Right on.
Yeah. All right. Well, Kelly, do you have anything else to add in this?
Here's to another 150.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Cue ball, you're going to get that starter in now?
I'll get it ordered. I'll call Brian tomorrow.
Yeah, because your computer is on my desk, so you
That's
can't
right.
do it yet.
How can I possibly order it? I don't know how.
Well, your official start date is looming, so I guess you can still call. You can still call Brian. Yeah. All right. Well, all great stuff, and once again, tune in next time for the adventure story, if you will. Go.
That's great. Oh, groan.
Oh, God.
That was good, man. Come on.
It was good.
On our next episode of V8 Radio. So for Miss Kelly Ostie, Mr. Mike Cuball Clark, I'm Kevin Ostie, reminding you to keep the shiny side up, and we will talk to you next time on V8 Radio.